You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
For the final time in 2023, we are back together. It's Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill for the Friday edition, of Leafs Morning Take presented by Betano. What's going on, Rosie? How are you?
What's happening? Last one of the year. That's true.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how quickly time has flown, and we will dedicate a segment on today's podcast to reviewing 2023 from a Maple Leafs perspective. You're sort of going to be stunned by their record over the calendar year in regular season play, at least. So we'll go over that. Some New Year's resolutions. You got any resolutions?
No, I want to work out a little bit more, like standard, right? But I've been doing that since October. I've been playing squash, burning the calories, so it feels good doing that. I actually enjoy doing that because I kind of hate working out. I used to have to do it for a living, and there's enough motivation there, and now the motivation's gone, and it's like I quit. I just find myself quitting when it gets hard. I'm just like, this hurts, fuck it, and I quit. So playing squash is really good, and then try to lift here and there, and try to stay on top of that and stay heart healthy, baby.
It's funny you brought that up because I think it's always so interesting when you see somebody retire from the NHL or stop playing, and then you see like a picture or video of them like 6 months later, and you're like, holy shit, what happened? But you're speaking to it. It's pretty easy, no?
Like the Keith Tkachuk's.
I didn't mention names. I just said a lot of players bulk up the wrong way.
Yeah, some guys battle the bulge. Like, just depends on your body type and how you like to eat, how much you like food, how much you like going out and having dessert and all that stuff. Like, some guys battle it and never do anything. Some guys try to keep, battle the bulge when they're playing. And I mean, you're burning a ton of calories. So when you stop doing that and you don't have the motivation to work out, you're going to blow up.
Oh, definitely. And I think my New Year's resolutions will stem around the same type of thing. My guilty pleasure is pizza. I eat way too much pizza. And I think dieting is one thing I'll look at. I work out quite a bit, but get your body in even better shape, I think would be a thing I would look at. And I think it's always healthy to have like motivations in mind, like something to look forward to, something to work for, right?
Yeah, whatever does it for you, man. I don't know everyone. It's just kind of the battle of many adults, man. Like what keeps me healthy? What motivates me to do it? How do I stay on track? How do I stay disciplined? These crash diets or, a lot of people go on, just absolutely crank it for like a month and just lose all this weight and blah, blah. And oh my gosh, I get my goal. And then it's like, then for a month, they just gorge like pizza and shit. And it's like, my God, why did you do that, man? What was the point? So everyone's different, man, but it's tough. No doubt time is a factor, energy, motivation. It's tough out there, man.
As an avid gym goer, this is a tough time of year where everybody goes to the gym, and then January 1 rolls around. You have the New Year's resolutions. So I'm looking forward to that at the gym. Also looking forward to New Year's. I was telling you guys off air before we came on air here how I've been thoroughly reminded the last couple of days why I hate New Year's so much now with the pandemic being over, trying to schedule and plan. You got any plans?
Yeah, right after this, me and the family are going out to Golden, British Columbia, and got a buddy out there. We're gonna stay at the place, do some, I think, tubing down some mountains and some skating and a little snowmobiling. Yeah, it's looking like a nice little weekend with the fam. So looking forward to it.
Full-fledged family guy. I respect that. I'm obviously a bit different being a single 34-year-old, and I'm looking to party. I mean, bottle service could be an option, but I can't believe inflation, I guess, but prices of bottle service if it's like 2 or 3 people, man. And that's what I'm staring dark in the eyes right now, wondering if I should even go out on New Year's Eve at all. But like that is a reality for anybody who's gone out on New Year's Eve. The prices surge like crazy. But yeah, it's going to be tough to decide what to do over the next couple of days here.
Well, downtown T-Dot, I don't think you're going to have too much trouble, but do a little pre-drinky and then just, you don't have to drink to have fun, Nick. You can just get some soda water and lime and just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would do. I'd go out on New Year's Eve and drink water all night. Speaking of which, do you have any cool stories or good stories from your days in the show? Like, I'm sure there was some legendary like New Year's parties. I know it's a bit different because I think back in the day, there were less games on New Year's Eve. Maybe don't quote me on that, but like it seems like this year most teams play around New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. It's just a lot of a different style in terms of ratings and TV. But do you recall any parties that you guys had like post game or anything like that?
I really don't, man. I mean, we usually get your little couple days off at Christmas, and then you're going guns blazing there into the new year. I always remember like it wasn't that big of a deal because you'd usually like play that night or the next day or this or practice. So it wasn't really that big of a thing. Of course, there was some parties and stuff, but it wasn't like these wild stand out in your mind type of things. And if they were, you kind of end up forgetting about them too. So
Yeah,
nothing crazy. I mean, that job, you usually are working when other people have got time off. So it doesn't really line up with the same type of holidays that other people get.
man. You know what show I've randomly been binging lately? Entourage. Did you ever watch it?
I went back and watched it this year, dude, like the whole thing, because I'd
Dude.
watched it when it was young. Dude, you couldn't get away with, like, it's so offside compared to like PC culture today. You'd be canceled in a second for making that show. It was pretty wild.
I can't believe like it's very similar to like The Godfather. It's very similar to obviously like other shows where you're like, why did it take me this long to watch? Like, what's the other one that's escaping my mind right now? It's a mob-based show. Why can't I remember the name?
Sopranos.
Yeah, I watched Sopranos and I couldn't believe it took me that long to watch. Like, I loved it. And it's happening right now with Entourage. And as you know, like I become, buddy with Kevin Conley, who's on the show, plays E. And it's sort of cool seeing him at that age. Like, I think you just see that life and you're like, holy crap, that's a life of lavish, and all the random appearances in the show, celebrity appearances. Like it's a really good show, man. I like it.
Did you not watch it when it came out?
No, like I don't know. I guess
Oh,
it was in an
wow.
era. My brother owned a couple of the box sets. I watched a couple episodes here and there. I watched the movie, but like I didn't know the whole story, and now I'm watching it unfold. I'm like, this is such a good premise for a show.
I'm jealous that you're watching it for the first time because I watched it again here this year, maybe in the spring, and I had to go look and see like what kind of like lashback or that they
Yeah.
were getting these days, because I mean they're totally objectifying women like crazy, and that's kind of the biggest premise, and it's just a bunch of young single guys chasing women, right? So of course I check it out, and it's just out the ass with people just saying the audacity of it and toxic masculinity, and I had to kind of have a chuckle at that. But yeah, it's pretty hardcore, but at the time you didn't even notice. You just thought, oh, it's a wicked guys show, and I knew girls that watched it and liked it too. So I don't know, times have sure changed in the last decade.
They have. Every character is fantastic. Obviously, Ari Gold's like the easy choice. Just a supreme character, just so phenomenally done in that show. But every character has its purpose. I'm really enjoying it. Like Mandy Moore's in there, Jessica Alba. Like every new character they bring in has a purpose. I think it's so well done, man.
It was Cameo City with that series,
Yeah.
and Lloyd, Ari's he's like an Asian gay personal assistant. He's the funniest guy, the nicest guy. He's one of my favorite characters, but the way Ari treats him, I think that was the biggest reason I went to the internet to said I got to see what they're saying about this, because good Lord, was Ari hard on him, and not these days, man, and rightfully so, probably.
Looking forward to it. I'm just about to wrap season 3. So Sloan's entered the picture, which is always great, but you could check out, I think Victory is the podcast they do.
Quick story. Luke Shin was at like a side deal, right? Doing something for something. And Sloan was there. And this was probably 2010. So kind of like right in the thick of Entourage, or had just wrapped or something like that. And they had exchanged numbers. And maybe it was before this, 2008, maybe his rookie year. They exchanged numbers, and then before he had called her, he had met or got together with his current now wife. So he didn't end up calling Sloan, but he had that opportunity. He's doing pretty good anyways. It's all good. But a little side fact, Shenner had her number and could ask her out. Wow.
Wheels McGee. She probably found out he had the keys to every restaurant in the city, right?
He was the face of the franchise, 18-year-old D-man, Mr. Human Eraser.
We do love Lukey Shen. We love Entourage. I think they do a podcast called Victory. Make sure to go check that out. And one day I vow to have Kevin Conley on this show. It's just a bit difficult to book the guy. He is very, very busy, but we do keep in touch. Big time New York Islanders fan, by the way. Nation Gear's Boxing Week Bonanza is bigger and better than ever. From December 26th to December 31st, save 15% on all merch and unlock free shipping when you spend $200 or more. Check out the collections and support the pod today at nationgear.ca. Brought to you by DoorDash. It's time for the appetizer. For a limited time, our listeners can get 25% off up to $10 in value and 0 delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more. When you download the DoorDash app, enter code NATION25. That's code NATION25 for 25% off your first order with DoorDash. Offer valid in Canada. Subject to change. Terms apply, and should mention as well at the Leafs Nation 401. If you're watching right now or not subscribed, please subscribe at the Leafs Nation 401. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. So 2 more games, Rosie, remaining in 2023, the calendar year for the Maple Leafs. And lo and behold, it is Columbus yet again. Second time in a week. They went in there last Saturday, got the 4-1 win. A couple weeks back on the December 15th, I guess, that wacky, crazy game where they spotted Columbus a 5-0 lead, then lost 6-5 in OT after scoring 5 unanswered goals in the third period. You're smiling because I think it's hilarious, too, to think back to that game, but can only wonder what's in store for this one.
Honestly, that's my thing. I'm not going to say I'm done making predictions, but it's just you can't predict this team. I can't find a rhyme or reason to figure out why they show up and when they show up and who they show up against. I don't like Sammy's probably going to be in. So like, what are we going to expect out of that? Has he lost it? Will this be, one of his last starts? Are they gonna ride Jonesy as long as they can until Woolsey's healthy? If Wool doesn't, or if Sammy doesn't find it tonight, you're supposed to think of them as the lowly Columbus Blue Jackets, but they worry me because it's the frickin' Leafs playing them, and that's a big question mark on, like, they never learn their lesson. You keep thinking, I've go roll the tape. I've said it a bunch of times, like, they're not going to do this again. Oh, they're going to be ready for this. Oh, they know they're going to be saying and preaching really hard, like, make sure we're up for this one. No, you just can't predict it, man. I don't know what's going on with that locker room. I don't know who's leading them or what kind of ability they have to prepare these guys, but I have no bloody clue what's going to happen tonight.
I'm happy you're sitting down because the numbers for Samsonov are downright revolting. He has been confirmed as a starter, by the way, for this game. His last 5 appearances, 1-1-3, 4.17, 8.59. He's been pulled in back-to-back starts. He's surrendered 15 goals in the past 3 appearances. Believe it or not, I like the under tonight.
You like the under tonight?
Dude, that's the only way they're going to win with this guy. It's going to be puck off the glass. It should be puck off the glass. Let's win a 2-1 hockey game. You never know with this team, but
dude, this team is not a 2-1 hockey game. They got Sammy in. They play nothing but offense. I'm mashing the over.
Yeah.
You're playing Columbus. Like, Austin Matthews doing what he's doing. The other guys seem to be finding it as well. And Sammy's an absolute anomaly. Both teams are capable of scoring 5 straight on each other. Let's go against each other and meet up and see who wins the cash.
Fair bet. I think the number's at 6.5, so it could even be 7. But regardless, 6.5 or 7. I think you're forecasting 8-9 goals, which is understandable. But I think the Leafs have to realize that that's probably the only way they're going to win. I think it's the last one for Samsonov. I truly do feel that way. Like, if he can't turn in a good effort where he has we'll say a 9-10 save percentage, which is probably around league average, I think obviously they have a major decision to be made, like conditioning stint or waivers. Like, we're at that point where this is it. And that's why I expect a monster effort. On top of that, this is the first time in a while we're going to see a healthy blue line. Like, Mark Giordano's coming back, missed 12 games, broken finger. They went 6-3-3 without him. So, like, we'll get a legitimate look at what they have and what they need to do. And it's one game. It's a couple games over the weekend. But I think we're finally going to see that blue line back together. And I wonder in turn if that turns into solid defensive performance. That is a tough ask. Don't get me wrong, because this team has plagued themselves defensively, but I wonder about it.
Yeah, me too. Like I said, I wonder as well. I scratch my head. I don't know what they're going to come up with. Yeah. Maybe they can outscore their problems. Maybe the healthy D line will hold it down. maybe the forwards will decide to play a team game and think about two-way hockey. Maybe the leadership in the room will get the guys ready to play and have them focused and have some accountability. Maybe Keefe will have a game plan that they can execute that's reasonable and rational and has both sides of the ice covered. I don't freaking know, man. I don't know. Their last, like, to go up 2-0 last game against Ottawa. I know you guys broke it down yesterday. I wasn't able to, but it's just like they can come out and lay an absolute egg in the first period and lose the game and not be ready, or they can come out, get up 2 goals, and then just shut it right down, abandon all systems, play more on street hockey and lose a game. It's just, I just don't know what they're going to do and how they're going to prepare. I'm done making predictions because they're so Jekyll and Hyde and yin and yang. I don't know what to expect. I don't know which team's going to show up. And even when the good team shows up, it's just because they have so much firepower up front often that they have the puck the whole time. They're in the O-zone the whole time. Austin Matthews gets 2-1 and they win the game. But, you know, it's just been so many times that I think they've learned their lesson and they haven't, that I'm not going to sit here and say they're ready for Columbus.
I sense you're on a ledge right now. Like, you sound like me on like a random Thursday here.
I didn't get to vent yesterday. I'm just tired of it, man. You see the blown leads, the blown starts, the losses to the bottom feeders. Like, how do you consider yourself a high-end team, a championship-worthy team, when your record against bullshit teams is that? I mean, it's not like, okay, you're not going to face a bullshit team in the Stanley Cup Finals, but how do you not have enough pride and enough ability and enough sound, systematic, well-rounded hockey team to beat those teams more often than not? And then to lose to them, that's fine. That happens. In this league, anyone can beat you. But to do it over and over and over and over and over, it's just like, what are we doing in that locker room? Who's preparing you for these games? Like, that's bullshit. That's minor league shit where, you know, you have just a thrown together lunch pail gang of different guys as draft picks and everyone's clawing to get called up, and it's not really a big team unity thing. You're the Maple Leafs who are trying to make a run here, who are supposed to be in your prime, and you consistently show up with those efforts against bullshit teams. It's so unacceptable. And I tweeted something the other day saying, do you think Keefe ever reams these guys out, or does he just come in and say, tough one, guys? Like, yeah, or is it addressed? Like, are you guys fucking professionals? What are you guys doing out there? Like, where's your head at before the game? Are you guys that cocky, and are you that big of divas that you think you just don't have to try because this team's lower than you in the standings? Like, it's just unacceptable, man. And I'm on a ledge. I'm not happy with it. And that's why I'm not making any predictions for tonight, because I'm just been burnt by this team so many times with, you know, to expect what you should get and to get what you get is just fucking mind boggling.
We talked about this yesterday. It almost feels like Sheldon Keefe feels, at least, like he can't do anything. Like, I mean, you look around the league, and to an extent, Calgary's done it with Jonathan Huberdeau. The guy's pointless in, like, what is it, like 14 straight games. And it is a stats league. It is a points league. So at the very least, produce. And he's not doing that. But, like, I can't remember a time where they sat down one of the big four, or a guy who wasn't playing well. Like, a Mitch Marner's been very, very inconsistent lately. Not to pick on him. Everybody is, pulled their weight when it comes to being really, really bad throughout the season. But they really haven't, like, done that ever in the Sheldon Keefe era, where it's like you're benching a guy, you're sitting a guy down, you're sending a message. But I get the sense like Keefe has no power over these guys, man. They make like $11 million per season. I know everybody yesterday in the chat were saying, well, that's a lazy excuse. Like, these guys are pros, they should get the job done, which to a degree I agree with. I mean, you look at other teams that finally pushed through. McKinnon did it, Vegas did it, Pittsburgh's done it. But you start to wonder internally, is it the core guys the problem here?
Well, when you got that much tied up in them, you're saying you are the basis of our team. You're the core and the nucleus of what we are. We're going to pay you this much money because this is what we expect from you. This is what you're worth. And therefore you will win us hockey games. And when you don't, of course it comes down on them. But to me, it's like it's a collective thing. It's a leadership thing. Like, you got to have guys on the team, the veteran guys, the Tavareses and the Geos, and then your coaching staff it's a mentality and a culture about what the expectations are around games and preparing for games, starting games, playing the full game, and a commitment to the system, a commitment to defense and to the team first mentality. And they fucking abandon ship all the time with that type of stuff. And it just seems to go, unscathed by them. And we're not in the locker room. I don't know if they pull Mitch Marner aside and have private meetings, private video sessions. We don't know what's going on. So to be fair, that's true. Maybe, but it's just from the interviews, what they say. You look at their body language, their facial expressions. You look at Keefe on the bench, and it just seems to be ho hum, ho hum, ho hum. We lost to Buffalo again. Ho hum. We lost to Columbus. Oh, ho hum. We lose 2 to Chicago. Like, it's unacceptable. Those are points that add up to a dozen points at the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's just 6 games that you drop. That could be more than that. It could be like more points, and that matters, right? And it's not just like the points in the standings. Oh, well, that dozen points doesn't really mean you play a different team. I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about a culture of hockey, that the identity of the team, who we are when the going gets tough, who we are when we need to find our game. And when you play 82 games and you play ho hum, no one cares, whatever. There's no real
urgency.
There's no fucking, what am I talking about? Where you get
desperation, jam.
No, where you get fucking whacked, spanked on the ass for a pee-pee whack for having bad accountability. No accountability. Yeah. There's no repercussions for doing the same thing over again, because they just don't seem to, like, we're sitting there watching as fans, screaming at the TV, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And they all just seem to be ho hum. It's like, do they even know who they're playing or what they're doing again? And it becomes that frustration from the fan base. And to me, it's unacceptable, and it starts from the top down, and the leadership and the coaching staff. It just doesn't seem like they've bred the culture that needs to be there in order to hold the team accountable and be what they're supposed to be.
Again, it gets back to the whole point of paying these guys, right? And we can talk about that till we're blue in the face, but you pay these guys to produce and get points, but you don't pay them for leadership and stuff like that. It feels that way, at least, right? And ultimately, you can't fire an entire team. I think at some point in time, they will get Sheldon Keefe fired. Do I think Sheldon Keefe's a bad coach? No, I don't. I just couldn't agree more with you. There's a lack of desperation, urgency. Like, even watching the game against Ottawa, it's like, oh, we're up 2-0. Let's just mail it in for the night, call it a night, and we'll go out after the game. But it doesn't work that way in the NHL, sadly.
No, not even close. And I mean, I wouldn't, like, I don't know if I'm totally on the fire Keefe train. I mean, if they did, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, but who's to blame? Who's to blame for these games where they don't show up or they spot Columbus a 5-0 lead? Like, can you blame the players anymore? Like, how long is the onus going to be on the players and not the coach, or vice versa?
Well, at the end of the day, the players are always to blame. But I mean, if they hadn't done it already, I'd say, get rid of this players coach, get rid of this country club, this zero accountability style of play, and get kind of more of a hard ass in there who will make goddamn sure that they, are ready to play, that they understand it, that there'll be repercussions if they have those bullshit games. But they've done that with Babcock, and maybe Babcock was too far that way, and they were checked out and refused to play for him. Okay. Maybe there's guys more in the middle. Maybe there's, a better mix. Maybe Craig Berube would be better, but no one's going to know that unless they pull the trigger. But I mean, it just, this team's Achilles heel continues to show itself. Too much money in too little of players, not enough defense, not enough grit, not well-rounded enough, not enough Florida Panthers in them, where you spread out the wealth and everyone's on the same page and everyone's playing hard, and it just comes at you wave after wave of line after line, and top to bottom, they all buy into the same shit. And it's like they're linked arms and they're going into war together. These guys are just like, woo, one guy, the other guy, who's this guy? Remember him? Forgot about him. And fucking, whoa, I forgot he, like, wow, man, it's just Swiss cheese, the holes in this team. And it's frustrating because the potential's there, but fuck, do they have a hard time putting it together.
So I guess the counter, and you're making some excellent points, the counter to, hey, let's fire Keefe and bring in a hard ass, bring in somebody who's going to be stern. It's like the inmates run the asylum. Like, does that hurt your negotiations with Nylander? Does Mitch Marner say, screw this? Like, does it rock the boat too much is the question. And I think knowing what we know about this brain trust, specifically Brendan Shanahan, doesn't really want to do that. Like, he believes in these guys. For some reason, he believes in them.
I guess. I mean, if you're not gonna, what are you not gonna re-sign Mitch Marner because you hire Craig Berube? Then fuck him. There's the door. Are you part of this organization or not? Do you want what's best? Like, you think they're gonna do something that they don't think is the best for the team? No. And I know I have my opinion on Mitch Marner and what he's worth to the league and what you could get for him and what this core is proven to produce is not playoff worthy hockey. So in my mind, it's simple. You got this guy another year, use him to your advantage, unload him, shop him around and get as much as you possibly can for him and fix the holes in the Swiss cheese with him because he's valuable and people would want him. People would pay for him. And you're going to have to, cough up some money for him. He's probably going to go on fire the last 6 months of the year and demand fucking $14 million. And it's like, don't do it. Don't do it, man. He's not a warrior. He's not a playoff competitor. I don't think he's tough enough. I don't think he's got the jam. Phenomenal hockey player, but I'd rather get what we can for him on the market and fix your team and shore up your problems because it's kind of already proven to me, man, that this isn't working.
Yeah, no, for sure. Again, I'm right there with you. I think if it were up to me, that's exactly what I would do. I'd re-sign Willie. I'd give Willie the Marner money, and I'd move on from Marner. I mean, easier said than done. I think the Leafs are as guilty as any other team in the back of their minds. They're like, look at Tampa. They held on to John Cooper. They held on. Then they go on this crazy run where they win cup after cup. But there's a noticeable difference between Tampa and Toronto. Do the Leafs have Andrei Vasilevsky? No. Do they have Victor Hedman? No. You can make the argument they have their Stamkoses, they have their Kucherovs, do they have their points? Again, some of those guys don't play that way in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They don't have the heart, the determination. But let's not forget, Tampa was that team too, where it's like, can they push through? I often talk about it on this podcast. It was like 10 to 12 years of Steven Stamkos is a loser. He loses. I mean, that's what he did in the NHL. And tenfold, he has changed that perception of him the last couple of years, right? So I think that's the bright spot. It can be changed, and I think that's what's probably going on behind the scenes. They're like, it just takes 1 year. It takes 1 year for this team to push through,
Yeah, that's true. And that kind of gives you some hope, right? And, oh, man, I would love nothing more than to have it, shoved down my throat and for that to happen. I would like nothing more than that. And, if we can make a little move at the deadline, if we can get some defensemen in there that work well together, that just play a system and gel well and just defend really well, and you get into the playoffs and the Marners and the Matthewses and the Tavareses and the Nylanders are just guns blazing, lights out there. They're just in sync for a month and a half. You can go deep. Joseph Woll gets healthy, and all of a sudden, he is the real deal. He is this beast between the pipes that just exudes confidence throughout the entire lineup, top to bottom. They go into the playoffs. If that all happens, yes, they can go on a run. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm just saying what we have right now and what they're showing over and over and over again is just a lack of playoff mentality, a lack of consistency, and a lack of defense. So all you can do is talk about what's been happening lately, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Right along board with you. Wendy's is letting you win real food with your fantasy teams this year and daily face-off. For those of you who smoke the competition, Wendy's is rewarding you with weekly prizes that will have you winning despite your lack of team-building skills. Download the Wendy's app, score yourself 150 bonus reward points on your first order, and grab a sweet victory from the mouth-watering jaws of defeat along with some fresh, never-frozen beef. Sign up to play Daily Face-Off Survivor to win weekly prizes like the spicy chicken sandwich from Wendy's and the Wendy's app. So lucky for all of us, Rosie, the final game of 2023, and we get potentially another video tribute. Michael Bunting, the Scarborough native, set to return to Scotiabank Arena on Saturday night.
True that. Fuck, he'll get a little something, won't he?
Yeah, more than Dubas.
As if they're giving Dubas shit. Yeah, they might give him a little something, a little wave. I'm all right with that. I don't know what's the switch here. Who do we compare him to? We compare him to Bertuzzi or what?
Yeah, that's it. That's the debate I wanted to get into. Bunting versus Bertuzzi. I mean, the numbers are eerily close. It's not all about numbers, in my opinion, and I've yet to see Tyler Bertuzzi in a playoff format for this team. But 32 games to Bertuzzi, 6 goals, 14 points. Of course, signed a 1-year deal at 5.5. Then you have Bunting signed a 3-year deal at 4.5. 35 games played, 7 goals, 24 points. By the way, he's on pace for 16 and 56 points. He had 2 23-goal seasons with the Maple Leafs, but it's not all about the points with the players, and I really can't make a conclusion one way or another until we see Bertuzzi in the playoffs. Can you?
No, I'd agree. At face value, at the beginning of the season, I absolutely loved the trade-off. Bertuzzi has not really been up to expectations yet. Unfortunately, I think he's 10 points behind Bunting even right now. And, when you get a chance to play with some of these big boys, you'd like to see more production. But where I'm lacking, some impressiveness in Bertuzzi coming here. It's just, you don't see his rattiness. You don't see his physicality. You don't see him chirping off. You don't see him, drawing many penalties. You don't see him firing up the other team and getting them pissed off. And, I thought we were going to get a little bit more of that, a little bit more, passion and aggression and intensity out of Bertuzzi. And we haven't seen that. I hope he finds it, but it just doesn't seem to quite be there. He hasn't been terrible or anything, but I expected more. And with Bunting, you look back and you look at kind of his intensity and passion, and I kind of yearn for that right now. Although I am reminded that he was getting a little out of control. He was like a liability there at the end. I mean, it was almost like selfish stuff, like screaming at the refs. I mean, when has that ever gotten you anything positive out of a game or your career or the team, right? Like screaming at their bench and getting intense at, scrums and all that stuff. Oh, I love it, man. But taking penalties and then getting more penalties taken against you because the refs hate you and doing all this personal stuff, it was getting a little out of control. So I do remember that. But long story short, I'd like to see Bertuzzi step it up a little bit in a few different areas. How about you?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I still prefer Bertuzzi. Again, I want to see him in a playoff format. And unfortunately, the lasting memory of Michael Bunting, yeah, he can produce. Yeah, he looked good with Auston Matthews, but took some bad penalties, bitched at the refs a lot. The refs at the end just hated the guy. He got suspended in the playoffs. Like, you need your guys on the ice. Availability is the best ability. And I mean, when you're not playing, you're killing your team. It was like Nazem Kadri 2.0.
I was going to say, unlike Kadri.
But the unfortunate part about that, like, Nas goes on to win a cup. I just hope Bunting doesn't go on to win a cup. It's like, oh, shit.
Personally, I don't care what guys do when they leave.
Yeah.
I mean, you make a decision for a reason, and good luck to you if they win or not. I mean, fuck, there's how many things have to go into that. I mean, opportunity and everything else to fall into it. It doesn't really mean anything. It's not like people are like, see, we should have held on to Kadri. It's like, or what? Then we would have won a cup. Kadri won the cup on his own. Like, that's just, I am always like roll my eyes, but certainly the Leafs do have a rich history of getting rid of players that go on to have mucho success, which just makes the frustration of being a Leafs fan even more so.
It's almost like saying, like, had the Leafs kept Tuukka Rask and traded Justin Pogge, that he would have been a Hall of Famer as a Maple Leaf. He probably would have been done after 2 seasons.
Yeah, exactly, man. Pogge's numbers, speaking of Pogge World Juniors and stuff, my Lord, was he ever a studly looking goaltender coming in. And the market of the Toronto goaltenders chews another one up and spits them out, but Pogge's a good man. I like that kid. I played with him a little bit when I got to Toronto, and solid dude. He says he's going to come on the show in the new year as well, so we'll get some World Junior stories out of him and pick his brain a little bit about what it was like to be a goaltender in Toronto.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a bit different, and I'm curious after this season, a bit of review, like, if we can get Martin Jones or hear from Martin Jones, how he felt about playing in this bubble. Joseph Wall, we've met up with before. It's just a different animal, and we're seeing it right now with Ilya Samsonov. They'll chew you up, spit you out, and it's just unlike anything any other market has seen, with exception of maybe Montreal, maybe Vancouver. Like, there's you can count on one hand how many markets are like Toronto when it comes to goaltending. So, yeah, it'll be fascinating. Michael Bunting makes his return with Carolina. I do think it's a measuring stick game, too. Like, Freddie Anderson still not playing. Pyotr Kochetkov has been really, really good for the Canes, but they're starting to buzz a bit. They got the big win last night. Andrei Svechnikov a hat trick in that game. Sebastian Aho's on fire. The veteran Brent Burns has been hot. Like, there's a lot of guns on that Carolina team, but like, the positive news is that the Leafs seem to step up for games like this. So I wouldn't be shocked they came out and won that game, quite frankly.
Well, you hope so. I mean, pretty solid team. I think they're sitting second in their division. Like you say, they spread it out pretty good. Freddie's still on the shelf. Ranta kind of up and down. But one of those teams that could, has a lot of potential. And if they give you their best, they're going to be a handful. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you just got to focus on yourself. You'll be on a back-to-back. Hopefully it's kind of good vibes coming off of Columbus. Hopefully you could find some momentum that you can carry into the next day. But I think it kind of all starts with tonight to figure out, where they're at and how they're doing. And I mean, if you can pull off a win with Sammy in net, I think that's huge for him, huge for the team, and then roll that into tomorrow and see if you can have yourself a real good weekend.
By the way, I pulled across a really good stat from social media. Sheldon Keefe will coach his 300th NHL game tonight. Win or lose, he'll be ranked number 1 all time in terms of wins percentage by a coach at 300 games. So,
whoa.
Yeah.
Well, they've had those regular seasons, right? I mean, it's not a terrible team. It's not like we're this bottom feeder team bashing them. They're a higher echelon team, and rightfully so with, the players that they have, but it's just like, it's a lot of the same player. It's kind of a one-dimensional team, right? With explosive firepower. It can be very exciting when they're on, but yeah, they win a lot of games and they roll a lot of points out in the regular season. They have done so. And I don't think anyone on this show or otherwise has said that they're just a dog shit hockey team. They're capable. It's just when it matters, they've just never, ever shown up. And it's become a pattern, a theme, and a frustration for fans. So, that makes you want to tip your cap to Keefe, saying, hey, like, obviously he's done something right. I mean, the rich history of this team, to have that accolade feather in your cap is not anything to sneeze at. So good on him. But once again, I just am lost for expectations and guesses at how they're going to move forward. I can't bring myself to have too much faith in them, because they're just so predictable at dropping the ball at certain points in times, head shakingly odd times to drop the ball. They just do it consistently.
Very bewildering for sure. You won't be shocked to know their record in 2023. So final 2 games of the calendar year, regular season record, 77 games played, 44, 22, and 11, 105-point pace. That's pretty much what this team has been under Sheldon Keefe. I wasn't shocked in seeing those numbers, but how will you remember the 2023 rendition or the calendar year of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Rosie?
I'll remember it as a yo-yo, up and down, man. Some highs that look pretty high, man. Some reasons to get excited. Some additions, some signings, some big play that is just makes you want to stand out of your chair and start clapping and cheering. And then on the other side of the yo-yo, there's times where it's just bewilderment on how bad they can be, on how inconsistent they can be, and how frustrating they can be. So a yo-yo year for me, for sure. I hope for consistency in 2024. I really do. I hope that they can just carve out an actual, like, what is their identity? Like, most good teams have an identity, and these guys just don't. Their identity is hope. We hope they do this in the playoffs. We hope they find a goaltender that works. We hope their defense is good enough to do XYZ. It's all we've ever done with this group is hope for the best. And I hope that we can just stop hoping and start like understanding like what the identity is.
For me, it was a roller coaster, similar to you with the yo-yo analogy. Same thing for me, just ups and downs and wild moves and shakes and flashes. It's like, I just want to see consistency. They're consistently inconsistent, and that's not good for a team that pins themselves on trying to win a Stanley Cup and being a Stanley Cup contender. So it's pretty simple. I mean, there's no doubt this team is legitimate. They got some really, really good players. They got some really, really core foundation pieces, but can you put things together is the question. And will it be enough that the outside guys that you bring in at the trade deadline, say it's a Tanev, say it's somebody else, say it's a couple of different guys, can they be enough to get you over the top? Because the disconcerting part is that, we interviewed Luke Shen and he really didn't tell us much, but the writing was on his face. It wasn't difficult for the guy to leave Toronto. Ryan O'Reilly, we had on the show. It wasn't like, oh my God, you've got to fucking pull my ear to get me out of this city. Like, there's a reason behind that. Yeah, money's a thing, but there's a reason why these guys are just choosing to move on. I do truly feel that way. It's like, if you strongly felt that, hey, these guys have it in them, we're going to do it, I think you'd find a way to stay. But I just don't get that sense from a variety of different guys we've talked to, in the year and a half we've been doing this show. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's kind of the curse of the plague of Toronto. And, every player that's played for that, it has been a totally different experience than anything they've done. They have appreciated the hell out of pulling that sweater over your head and saying you've done it and been part of it. But also to move on to different markets sometimes can be a relief. And that just is the nature of the beast, unfortunately. And, we're still all just waiting patiently for the right mixture of players to get that thing on and to get it done and to find it, man. And it is as difficult as ever and continues to be something that everyone is still desiring. So, once again, we hope into 2024.
Our girl Tammy in the chat, travesty is the identity of the team, not hope. LOL.
Travesty.
Yeah, you can tell.
Some days.
It's unique that, to me, it's always fascinating doing this podcast because you would think we're talking about a 20-point team, but the Leafs are like 6 points out of first in the Atlantic. It just shows you the expectations are sky high, but they should be, because you look at the players on that roster and you see pockets where they're an all-star team, right?
That is the thing. That is the yo-yo, man. It's how can you be so good and so bad? Like, the disparity between their good hockey and bad is so far apart. I've almost never seen anything like it. Usually you play on teams that are lower pack, mid pack, or upper echelon, and you kind of get kind of a consistency throughout the year. Yeah, everyone has their stinkers, everyone has their blowouts, but this group is kind of like none other that I've seen. And I think that's the frustration with the market, because the hopes get so high when they're playing well and when you see what they're capable of. And good Lord, man, we're going to train wreck everybody. And then they just fall off the planet in such grotesque ways that everyone's just stunned and then wants to light the place on fire because they're so frustrated with falling for it again or getting their hopes built up and shattered. So it is an anomaly, this team, and they're different than many others that I've seen, and I don't claim to be the one that can quite put my finger on it.
Well, here's to 2024, my friend.
Yeet.
There you go. Oh, yeah. There you go. We're not drinking on today's show. A week ago, Rosie went on Barn Burner and got shit-faced, so we're past those days. The holiday season's over for you, right?
I don't even know if I want to talk about that. I can't bring myself.
I was so far
gone at the end. I don't even remember Robin Regeer being on, and I get anxiety when I hear a clip of it or hear my voice just going off on a drunken booze ramble. A little bit. Maybe 8 drinks at Christmas would have been a little better than 15 or whatever it was. God,
we have to get you. Let's get your agent back in the mix, because if I was your agent, I've been watching a lot of Entourage, I would not have advised you to do that show. Okay.
You think it was bad? Now I got more anxiety.
No, I don't think it was bad. It's just I know social media.
Nah, they didn't do shit.
You've escaped the other side. It's great to see it. And go check out that show on Barn Burner, the Holiday Spirits episode. The Betano wrap-up is presented by Betano.ca. The game starts now. 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Make sure to head on over to Betano, by the way, Rosie, and bet on the Winter Classic. That's coming up on January 1st, Vegas and Seattle. We put together a bit of a parlay that you can put forth over at Betano with the Nation Network. Mine includes a Vegas dub, Jack Eichel assist, and how about a saves prop for Seattle? I don't know if it's going to be Joey Decourt or somebody else, but I like Vegas to win that game. But what are you looking at in this Leafs game tonight?
Well, I think we already teed it up, man. You're taking the under. I'm taking the over. I got the over. Okay, I'm going to smash the over. I mean, I don't know why. I do know why. I can't believe you're taking the under on this. You think they're going to You think they're going to turn into a glass and out team just fucking out of the blue? I hope you're right, but I just see a high scoring affair, and I hope it's because the boys are on fire, but it could also be because Sammy gets yanked for the third consecutive game and is a funnel. And I hope he finds it tonight, man. Hope is the thing.
I tweeted at Jason Strudwick the other day, and I said, hey, the Leafs could really use somebody to teach them how to put the puck off the glass, man. Their D-zone exits scare the shit out of me, man. They just want to hold on to that puck, man. It reminds me of like the first year analytics was really, really big, and the Leafs just felt this need that they couldn't dump the puck in. They had to have it all game, and it just led to fucking chaos. And I feel like it's getting to that point again where it's just like put the puck off the glass, ice the puck, man. Believe in your face-off guys. Like, it just seems so simple watching the game on TV, and then you watch it unfold and you're like, wow, like, why are they making that decision? But it's so hard for me to analyze that way. I've never played anywhere close to the show. I've never dealt with the fatigue of a shift in the NHL. Like, I get there's so many impacts and factors that go into decision making, but like, I can tell you positivity 100%. Those ticky-tack Mitch Marner in between the leg passes in the D zone, those can go. Okay, those can go.
They sure can. And the problem with having an offensive-minded forward group, it makes it tough on the D, man. I mean, you see them sometimes, like you say, holding onto the puck too long, but the options are gone. Like, these guys are blowing the zone and they're looking for their cookies, and they're trying to find, get a step on the D man. And if you can't get if there's no, like, you can't make the dangerous play, you got to try to find the smart one. And then 2 seconds go by and all of a sudden you're on your own back there. It's difficult. And, it's on the forwards. That's why I say just as much as the defensemen to make the right breakout passes, to make the right plays in the D zone, and to protect the puck and be smart with it back there. And I'm telling you, when forwards hang you out to dry on the back end, holy smokes, it can go south and it can make you look bad. So, a little bit more of a well-rounded team game tonight would be nice.
I almost forgot too, because Rosie's here. Johnny Gaudreau, anytime point, maybe Johnny Gaudreau, anytime goal. You know what's going to happen. So
Johnny Gaudreau to lay on the ice and end up in tears, maybe the over.
I can't, like, dude, reading social media in the last 10 minutes before I did this show, I couldn't believe how many people are on the Maple Leafs. Have we not learned anything about this team? This is what they do. They come out and lose to Columbus. That's what they do. So prove me wrong.
After losing to Ottawa, that'd be, fuck, man. The place, I'll be, like, a lot of faith will be gone
if they lose this game.
Maybe it'll just be Sammy not having it again, and okay, that's understandable. Not a lot you can do about that. But like you said, a bit of a measuring stick game. Like, is that group able to bear down and say, listen, we're done with this shit?
But dude,
let's go.
Why would they do it right now, Rosie? It's not going to happen. Not to be like that Mr. Disbelief. It's not going to happen. Like, they don't just flip a switch and be like, you know what? Now's the time we're going to be a hockey team. I just don't see it. I really don't.
Well, I'm not predicting either way. Like I said, I'm taking the over. You're taking the under. We'll see what happens.
We're not choosing sides in this game, man. I just can't do it anymore with this team, especially what we know. I got the record right here. They're 2-6-1 against bottom 7 teams in this league, and they have 10 regulation victories in 32 games. So we'll leave it at that. Cheers to 2023. Happy New Year, Rosie.
Same to you guys. Enjoy the weekend. Be smart. Use your heads. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. And we'll see you in 2024.
I wouldn't say that. Do the opposite of what we would do. Many thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys are fantastic. At the Leafs Nation 401. Many thanks to producer Aaron, producer Vic. That's Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga, and we'll talk next year.
Thank you for watching Leafs Morning Take. Hit that subscribe button and never miss a show. And for more, visit theleafsnation.com. THELEAFSNATION.com. If you don't know how to spell the Leafs Nation, you know what I mean? But hey, sometimes you never know.